Hey guys, what's up? Today we're gonna find out what the hell happened to Alundra, a very small franchise that only spawned 2 titles on the PlayStation that were kind of popular back in the day, but that today remain mostly as hidden gems. Alright, let's begin! Climax Entertainment was founded on April 1990 as a video game development company. They worked alongside Camelot Software Planning into the creation of the Shining series, with their first title, Shining in the Darkness, for the Sega Genesis, released in 1991. The following year, Climax would also help into developing Shining Force, again on the Sega Genesis. However, their first true game developed entirely by them was Landstalker, also released on the Genesis in 1992, but localized to the West until 1993. It was an action RPG played in an isometric view, where players were tasked with clearing puzzles, defeating enemies, and traversing through various dungeons and towns. The game was not exactly successful in sales, at least not outside Japan, but it will remain as a cult classic that will later influence other titles in the genre. This influence affected some crew members of Climax Entertainment after its release. Climax would then go on to create a spin-off called Lady Stalker, now being produced for the Super Famicom. However, these members wanted to head into a different direction, and along with other developers from Telenet Japan, left Climax Entertainment to create their own company called Matrix Software, established on July 1994. That will be the start to create a new action RPG that will be the spiritual successor to Landstalker, but completely unrelated to it. The product was Alundra, released almost 3 years later on April 11, 1997 for the PlayStation. Directed by Yasuhiro Ohori, the idea behind the game was to carve a whole new story within a completely new universe, but with gameplay mechanics that will resemble those of the original Landstalker. The result was the story of a young elf called Alundra, who departs for the village of Inoa, where people are apparently sick with something related to their nightmares. It is Alondra's mission to enter these people's dreams, solve the mysteries and puzzles to cure them. It was a commercial success. Critics mostly praised the script, a very dark story that involved elements of religion, death, or even depression, crafted by young writer Ichiro Tezuka. Criticism went towards the enormous difficulty some of the puzzles had, later becoming one of the hardest RPGs on the system. Regardless, it was a game very well received, at least at the beginning, with its localization happening the following year in 1998, Working Designs being the publisher in North America on January, also meeting their good reviews and successful sales. Matrix Software began working on other games that will eventually lead them to meet Chunsoft, the company behind the Dragon Quest series. They would start working together on the franchise itself, including on a spin-off called Tornico: The Last Hope, about one of the main characters from Dragon Warrior 4. However, during 1998 and 1999, Matrix was busy with another game that, thanks to the success of Alundra, will become a second title in the series. Alondra II was released on November 18, 1999, localized on February 29, 2000 in North America, and later on Europe and Australia as well. The localization, however, wasn't handled by Working Designs, but by Activision outside Japan. Drastic changes were made to almost every single aspect of the game, as if it had been made by different people. Ohori still directed this, but along another person. Production, design, script, and programming were handled by different employees of the company. Alondra II was still an action RPG, but fully done in 3D, with a lighter and easier to understand story, working mostly as a comedy. It was completely unrelated to its predecessor, thriving now as a standalone title. Despite being a good game, still fun to play and enjoyable, it was a commercial failure, especially outside Japan. Fans of the original game were heavily disappointed, and important websites and magazines began giving it mixed reviews. Major complaints were against the change of atmosphere and the difficulty spikes, specifically at some boss battles, as well as the overall layout of the gameplay mechanics. Matrix Software, already working on more Tornico series and now getting more involved in the Dragon Quest franchise, resented the failure enough to keep up the name, but not the idea. On February 2002, Matrix Software finished Dual Hearts, an action RPG for the PS2, published by Sony in Japan and by Atlus in North America. No version of this game was ever released anywhere else. Dual Hearts, made by different employees of the company, attempted to recreate a similar formula as seen in the Landstalker and Alondra series, but ultimately failed mainly due to the lack of marketing, but also the lack of originality. The truth is, nobody cared about this game, not only for receiving mixed reviews, but also for not being called Alondra III. Even though it was unrelated to the series, Dual Hearts faded into oblivion, along with the Alondra name, forever. How many times have we seen small franchises fail over the course of time? How many times has it been mainly for changing entire concepts, mechanics, and personnel? Some series succeed despite having major changes like this, but others fail as if they were always destined to be. Perhaps Alondra should never have had a sequel? Perhaps Matrix Software should have retained the formula for future entries? The answers lie only within the developers themselves. In the end, Alondra died because of a failed sequel and the lack of interest from both the developers and the publishers to continue exploiting what could have easily become a fantastic franchise. Nevertheless, other projects got in the way, and Matrix Software ended up involved with several different companies such as Square Enix, mainly developing Final Fantasy spin-offs, and hidden gems like Avalon Code or Nostalgia, both for the Nintendo DS. I'm glad to see that Matrix Software is still hanging in there, unlike Climax Entertainment, who shut its doors in 2014. We may not know if they will continue to work on more action RPGs, but at least today we learned what the hell happened to Alundra. The Alondra series had so much potential. It could have worked just fine nowadays considering the rise of action RPGs. But sadly, it's gone now, and probably forever. We might never see a new Alondra title ever again. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!